Derby morning at Churchill Downs. Frank Caldwell was already 3 juleps deep when he saw the boy.
Stay in the barn. No stable boys past the green rope today. You are an embarrassment.
Lucas didn't argue. He handed the lead to the white assistant Frank had demanded and stepped back. Security walked him to the perimeter. The velvet rope was a line he had never been allowed to cross. The grandstand murmured. Whispers about the boy who'd raised the horse since it was a foal. Lucas turned once to look at the stallion. The horse was already tossing its head, searching the crowd. The nervous assistant tugged the lead. Sovereign planted his hooves and whinnied, ears flat.
Get him moving. We don't pay a $20 million horse to throw tantrums over a barn hand.
But the horse would not be moved. Its gaze remained locked on the spot where Lucas had stood. The most important race of the year was 90 minutes away, and the favorite was already starting to fall apart. 6 years earlier, in a Versailles barn, a chestnut mare dropped a black colt at 2 in the morning.
Lucas, what will you call him?
Midnight, Sovereign. He's gonna own the track one day.
From that night, Lucas never left the colt's side. He slept in the stall through colic and 3 vet quarantines. One stormy night, the colt writhed with colic. Lucas held its head for 6 hours until the vet arrived.
Frank Caldwell won't stand a stable boy getting too attached. Baby, watch yourself.
Meanwhile, Frank had been drinking since breakfast. His trainer tried to talk strategy, but Frank waved him off.
I don't need strategy. The horse runs, we win. End of story.
But winning depended on a horse that trusted only one set of hands, and those hands were being pushed away. All Frank saw was a black boy in a stable hand polo. He never asked why the horse refused to eat from anyone else's palm. Post time was 60 minutes away. The new handler gripped the lead, but Sovereign's hooves struck the dirt and held.
I said the boy stays out. That horse cost me $20 million. He'll do what he's told.
The trainer, pale under his derby hat, leaned close. Sir, he won't load without Lucas. Please reconsider.
You think I am going to grovel to a stable hand? Get another man.
In the crowd, Elijah Duvall opened a leather notebook. He wrote 2 lines, then lifted his eyes to the paddock. Sovereign threw his head and let out a piercing whinny that cut through the noise of the grandstand.
Get another handler. There are 40 men on this property who'd kill for this job.
But every man they tried, the horse rejected. Each new face sent his ears flat against his skull. Elijah watched the chaos unfold. The boy's absence was costing Frank everything, and Frank still couldn't see it. The starting gate loomed in the distance. The post parade was forming, and the favorite was still a long way from being ready. At the gate, Sovereign refused to load. He reared, and the assistant handler was thrown aside. The vet rushed in to help. A hoof connected with his wrist. The crack echoed like a gunshot.
Somebody get that beast under control. He's a $20 million animal, not a wild mule.
The jockey dismounted, shaking his head. This horse was not safe to ride. With 90 seconds to post, the starter's board flashed. Scratched. The Derby favorite was out.
No. This can't be. I lost millions because of a stubborn horse and a stable boy.
The entry fee, the syndicate purse, the $4 million ad deal, all of it vanished. In the crowd, Elijah Duvall closed his notebook. He had seen enough. The Derby would run without them. The Triple Crown dream died before it had begun.
That boy did this. When I get back to Versailles, he's finished.
Frank shoved past his silent entourage and climbed into the black sedan. The engine roared. He drove like a man possessed, bourbon on his breath, swearing vengeance on a 17-year-old boy. Back in Versailles, Lucas turned off the stable radio. He had heard the scratch announced during the 5th race. He didn't stop work. He kept rubbing down Sovereign's tack, his face unreadable.
Baby, he'll come looking for you. That man's pride has no bottom.
Let him come, Mama. I didn't make that horse crazy. He did.
In the stall, Sovereign nuzzled Lucas's shoulder, as if to confirm the bond no command could sever.
That boy's got a stillness in him that scares the devil.
The afternoon sun dipped low over the Caldwell estate. Frank's sedan was only miles away now.
Come on, then. I've got nothing left to lose.
The black sedan tore up the driveway, scattering gravel, and Frank was out before it stopped rolling. He slammed the barn door open so hard the hinges shrieked. Lucas didn't flinch.
You cost me everything. The entry fee, the ends, the triple crown, all because you spoiled that animal.
I was in the barn, Mr. Caldwell. You were the one who banned me from the paddock.
Don't you dare talk back to me. Who do you think you are? I built this stable. I pay your mother's salary.
You pay her to clean, not to let you treat her son like trash.
Sovereign's ears swiveled at the shouting. Lucas continued brushing, each stroke slow and deliberate.
That horse is a $20 million investment, not a pet. I'll have you scrubbing floors until you are 80.
You can try, but this horse won't eat from anyone else. You saw that today, so maybe you should think about what you are actually threatening.
Lucas held out a handful of grain, and Sovereign lifted gently from his palm, his massive body relaxing.
You think you are above me? You'll be back here begging by morning, or you and your mother are out.
Lucas didn't answer. He stroked the velvet of Sovereign's nose, his touch as steady as a metronome. Frank's jaw tightened. For a second, he looked like a man who knew he'd lost. Then the rage returned. He spun on his heel and marched out, shoving the barn door shut behind him so hard it rattled the stalls. The sedan's engine roared, and the tires spat gravel as he fishtailed down the drive. Silence settled over the barn, broken only by Sovereign's deep, rhythmic breathing.
Don't worry, boy. He can't hurt us now.
Lucas pressed his forehead to the horse's neck, the old horsehair bracelet pressing into his wrist. Outside, the last of the sun dipped below the tree line. The Caldwell sign creaked in the evening wind. Lucas stood there a long time, then picked up the brush again. There was still work to do. That evening, Frank Caldwell's phone buzzed in his dark study. His lawyer had news he didn't want to hear.
What do you mean the syndicate is in uproar? They can't blame me for a stubborn horse.
The lawyer's voice was cold. You humiliated yourself in front of the entire racing world. The only way to salvage anything is to apologize and get that boy back.
Apologize to a stable boy. I'd sooner sell the animal.
But the lawyer spelled out the numbers. No Lucas, no horse, no revenue. Frank stared at his bourbon, then poured it down the sink. 30 minutes later, he was in the sedan again, the apology, a sour taste in his mouth.
I am sorry I banned you. That's all. Just say the words and get the horse back.
He pulled onto the Caldwell Drive, the big house dark against the dusk, the stable lights flickering in the distance. At the barn door, he hesitated, one hand on the handle. The silence from within was absolute.
7 words. Just say 7 words.
Frank pushed the barn door open. Lucas was in the tack room, wiping a bridle with a cloth, his back to the door.
Lucas, I made a mistake this morning. I should not have banned you. I am sorry.
Before you go any further, read this.
Without another word, Lucas pulled a cream-colored envelope from his pocket and held it out. Frank tore it open. The Vanderbilt seal broke under his thumb as he unfolded the letter inside. We are pleased to award a full scholarship to the Vanderbilt University Equine Program. Sincerely, Elijah Duvall, Crescent Thoroughbreds. Frank stared at the name. His grip tightened until the paper wrinkled.
Who is Elijah Duvall? What is this?
He's a thoroughbred owner from New Orleans. He's been watching my work since the Belmont prep races.
Lucas's voice was even. He offered me a full ride this morning, an hour after you threw me out of the paddock. Frank's face turned a deep, blotchy red. He crushed the scholarship letter in his fist.
You've been scheming behind my back. Sneaking around with some Louisiana operator to abandon my stable.
I didn't know about Mr. Duvall until this morning. He came to me after you had security walk me off the property.
He said it without heat, as if recounting a chore. The calm was absolute.
I'll fight this. I'll call every board member, every owner. You think some school letter changes anything?
Fight what, Mr. Caldwell? An education. A future that doesn't need your permission.
Frank's jaw worked. For a long moment, there was no answer. Then Lucas gestured toward the stable door. There's something else you should know, but maybe you should sit down first.
What else? What else could there possibly be?
Frank didn't sit. He stood frozen, the scholarship letter now a crumpled ball in his sweating palm.
I'll have that scholarship revoked. Boy, I know every board member at Vanderbilt. You won't see a dime.
You can try, Mr. Caldwell, but it's funded by Mr. Duval, not the university. A private endowment. You can't touch it.
Frank's threats deflated against a wall of independence he'd never seen coming. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. His phone buzzed. He pulled it from his pocket, the screen casting a pale glow on his sweating face. Emergency meeting convened. Vote to remove you as managing partner on the table. Immediate response required. Frank stared at the words. The color drained from his face until he was the gray of old newspaper.
Sounds like you've got bigger problems than me, Mr. Caldwell. Maybe you should go home.
You did this. You turned them against me.
But his voice had no weight. It was the whisper of a man realizing the ground was crumbling beneath him. Lucas turned back to the tack, picking up a clean bridle. The horse in the stall nuzzled his shoulder, as if sealing the verdict.
I belittled you because I was jealous. You had a bond I couldn't buy. I am sorry.
I know you are scared, but I am not your property. I never was.
Then what do you want? I'll give you a share. Anything. Just help me.
Lucas didn't answer. He reached into his pocket and withdrew a folded document, crisp and official.
There's something else you should know, Mr. Caldwell.
Frank took it with clumsy fingers. The seal of Crescent Thoroughbreds was embossed at the top. Sale of Thoroughbred, Midnight Sovereign, transferred to Elijah Duval for $26 million. Frank stared at the number. His lips moved, but no sound came. The barn fell into a deep, ringing silence.
He's not yours anymore. He never will be again.
Frank held the page, his name nowhere on it. The horse was gone. Only the dust motes drifted in the lamplight.
$26 million. He can't do this. That horse is Caldwell blood.
But the notarized seal was stamped in blue ink. Yesterday's date. The ink was dry.
You should have checked your syndicate's morning filings. Mr. Duval can, and he did.
Frank's knees buckled. He stumbled backward, clutching at a hay bale, and collapsed onto it, the contract crumpling.
You planned all this. You've been scheming since foaling.
But his voice broke. The seal was real. The syndicate had voted in an emergency session, and Lucas was already pulling a halter from the tack hook, as if this were just another evening chore.
He bought him because he knew you'd ruin him, and you almost did. Today, you proved him right. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'll be taking Sovereign now.
Frank didn't move. He just sat on the hay bale, the contract slipping from his trembling fingers to the dusty floor. In the stall, Sovereign nickered softly, a low, familiar sound that had always been meant for Lucas. That sound was the only goodbye Frank would ever get. Frank's trembling fingers found his phone. He punched the lawyer's number, his voice cracking when the line picked up.
They can't just take the horse. It's not legal. Find me something, anything.
The lawyer's voice was flat. The contract was notarized, executed, and the funds had cleared hours ago. Frank's arm dropped. The phone clattered on the barn floor.
Lucas, is it true? We're leaving tonight.
Pack your things, Mama. We're going tonight. I am sorry it took so long.
She crossed the distance in 3 steps and wrapped her arms around him, her tears soaking his shoulder.
Finally, baby. Finally.
Lucas packed his duffel with steady hands. A few clothes, the scholarship letter, the old brush that Sovereign liked. Mama's suitcase waited by the door. Outside, the faint hum of a diesel engine grew closer. Headlights swept the barn windows. Frank didn't move. He sat on the hay bale, watching the only family he'd ever employed walk out of his life forever. A black luxury truck and trailer glimmered onto the gravel drive. The words, Crescent Thoroughbreds, catching the dying light. Elijah Duval stepped out, silver-rimmed glasses catching the last light, his presence as calm as a deep river.
Lucas, good to see you again. I trust the afternoon wasn't too hard on you.
You can't do this. That horse is Caldwell blood.
I already have, Mr. Caldwell. The contract was executed last night.
Lucas stood beside the open door, duffel at his feet, watching the man who'd humiliated him now stammer into silence.
The horse made his choice when you made yours. I am just respecting his decision.
Frank's mouth opened, but no plea came. He simply sagged back against the hay bale, the fight gone out of him.
Let's get Sovereign loaded. He's waited long enough.
Lucas nodded and picked up the halter. The trailer ramp was already lowering, the horse's soft knicker floating from the barn. Lucas stepped into the stall, and Sovereign pressed a velvet nose to his chest. Not a trace of the morning's fury remained. He fastened the halter with the calm of 1,000 mornings, then led him down the aisle without a single tug.
He trusts you completely.
You can't take him. That horse is mine.
Lucas didn't look back. Sovereign placed one hoof on the ramp, then the other, his massive frame swaying as if he understood exactly where he belonged. In the trailer's soft interior light, the horse turned his head, nuzzling Lucas's shoulder one last time.
I'll call the police. You won't get off my property.
Move, Mr. Caldwell, or I'll have you removed.
Frank staggered backward, his face a mask of disbelief and loss. He had no authority left, no horse, no legacy. Lucas shut the trailer door, the latch echoing through the dusk. The truck's engine rumbled, ready to carry them away. Lucas climbed into the passenger seat and settled back, calm as a man who knew exactly where he was going. Through the window, the Caldwell property already looked smaller, its stable lights shrinking in the dusk. Lucas rolled down the window and looked directly at Frank for the first time since the morning.
You could have had a legend, Mr. Caldwell. Instead, you've got nothing.
He didn't wait for a reply. The window slid up, and the door clicked shut. Elijah Duvall gave Frank a long, pitying look through the windshield, then turned the wheel. The truck and trailer began to roll, gravel crunching. Sovereign's head appeared at the trailer window, ears forward. Frank took one stumbling step forward, then stopped. There was nothing to chase. The truck passed under the Caldwell sign, which creaked one last time, then vanished into the night. By the time the dust settled, Frank was alone. The night swallowed his legacy. Frank stood there until the engine sound was eaten by the dark. Then he turned and walked back into the barn. The stall was empty, the straw still holding the shape of a great black body that was no longer there. He wandered into the tack room. The halter Lucas had used still hung on a hook, a stray horsehair clinging to the leather. But it was the bracelet that caught his eye, an old braided circle of horsehair, frayed and thin, dangling from a nail. Frank lifted it with 2 fingers. It was light, nearly weightless, yet it dragged his whole arm down.
This is what he wore every day. My God, what have I done?
He stared at the bracelet, the hair from the horse he had just lost, woven by the boy he had humiliated. The barn was silent, except for the creak of the sign outside. Everything that mattered was gone, and for the first time in his life, Frank Caldwell had no one to blame but himself. The next morning, Frank sat unshaven in his dark den, a cold coffee growing stale in his hand. The television flickered. A local news anchor appeared, her tone buoyant. A graphic filled the screen, Midnight Sovereign's photo and the Crescent Thoroughbreds logo. Crescent Thoroughbreds acquires Midnight Sovereign for $26 million. The young handler who raised him, Lucas, has been promoted to head trainer. The anchor continued, mentioning Lucas's Vanderbilt scholarship, calling it a story of talent rising above circumstance. On screen, a photo of Lucas in a Vanderbilt jacket flashed. A future Frank had tried to deny, now broadcast for the world.
He's everywhere now. Every screen in this house is telling me I am finished. They'll be talking about this for years. And I am the fool who handed him over.
He reached for the remote. His thumb pressed the button with the finality of a door closing. The screen went black, leaving only his own reflection, a gray, hollow man in an empty room. Outside, the world was already rewriting the Caldwell name as a cautionary tale. Lucas was the story now. Months later, Lucas walked the brick paths of Vanderbilt, a textbook under his arm and a new stillness in his stride. He pushed through the doors of the Equine Center, and the scent of hay and horse flooded him like a welcome.
Ready for anatomy class? Or are you here to skip it again?
Lucas crossed to the stall where Midnight Sovereign stood, ears pricked, as if he'd been waiting all morning. The great black horse lowered his head and pressed a velvet muzzle to Lucas's chest, a gesture that needed no words.
He knows your footsteps. Never seen a horse so attached.
Yeah. Well, we've got a test in anatomy today, but I had to see him first.
On his wrist, a new bracelet circled, tight braids of black hair, riche and strong, woven from Sovereign's own tail. Sovereign nickered softly, and Lucas leaned his head against the horse's neck, eyes closed. In that quiet stall, with the sun slanting through the high windows, everything was exactly as it should be. Outside, the paddock lay golden in the last hour of sun. Lucas led Sovereign through the tall grass, Elijah walking beside them. Elijah's eyes were on the horse, but his words were for the boy. "I have something for you."
I am giving you 5% of the syndicate. You are not just a handler now. You are a partner.
Lucas stopped. The leather lead went slack in his hand, and Sovereign nudged his shoulder as if urging him to accept.
I don't know what to say, Mr. Duval.
You earned it when you didn't sell out your horse for a fool's approval. That's the kind of partner I want.
He extended his hand, and Lucas took it. The handshake was firm, the sunset spilling copper through their fingers.
Just keep those good hands working, son.
Lucas stood alone with Sovereign under the great oak, the new bracelet catching the last light. The horse exhaled a long, warm breath, and for the first time, Lucas felt the certainty of a future he'd built with his own hands. 1 year later, Churchill Downs, Lucas walked a new horse into the winner's circle, and the crowd roared his name.
That's my boy.
Elijah Duval stood at the rail, a quiet smile beneath his silver glasses. He no longer watched from the shadows. In Versailles, Frank Caldwell's trophy room was dark, except for the television. He sat slumped, a glass of water untouched beside him. He watched Lucas kiss the garland, and for a long moment, his face was nothing but ruin. Then he lifted the remote and clicked the lamp off. The room plunged into black. The screen flickered on a few seconds more. Lucas laughing, the horse tossing its head, the crowd a blur of motion. Then that, too, went dark. Outside, the Caldwell sign creaked in the night wind, but no truck was coming down the driveway ever again. The final image held, Lucas's smile, bright and unbroken, a rose petal on his shoulder, the old horsehair bracelet still wrapped around his wrist.